Hey, so I'm really excited to make this video because I feel like some people know and some people hear about it, but I feel like a lot of people don't know. There is a difference between training for size and training for strength. So you would think common sense wise, as you get stronger, your muscles grow, right? Not necessarily. So I've been doing a lot of research and it's actually really cool. When you're training for strength, it's more about training your mind. As like weird and conspiracy as that sound, you're like upgrading your software. So it's really neurological and you're getting your mind used to recruiting more muscle fibers to be able to push that weight. So your bicep isn't just your bicep. Your bicep is made of a bunch of different muscle fibers. All your muscles are. So your mind has to get trained to recruit more of those to lift heavier. So that's when you're lifting heavy. When you're lifting for size, I've talked about it in other videos. When you build muscle, you rip your muscles, and then from the nutrients in your body and everything else, it recovers it and builds it stronger. So when you're training for size, you're really training to rip the muscles, because if you don't rip them, they're not going to build stronger to prevent getting ripped again. Training for strength, neurological, recruiting more muscles. Training for size, physiological, actually ripping the muscles. Great. So how do we do that? Well, if you want to train for strength, you gotta lift heavy. And honestly, I lift heavy when I'm going for size too, because for me, I've noticed lifting heavier helps me a lot. I'm talking about heavy like 3 to 5 reps, so basically a lower rep range. And that's training for strength, because you're getting your body used to pushing that much weight, what the weight feels like. Again, it's really neurological and recruiting all the muscle fibers to push that weight. Whereas if you're training for size, you want to stay in the 8 to 15 rep range. Personally, I like to stay 8 to 12, but a lot of studies show if you go 8 to 15. So if you've ever seen people doing bicep curls at the gym and they're like, ugh, like they're swinging their back a lot, or if you see someone at the squat rack and they're barely going 2 inches down with 10 plates on each side and they're barely squatting like 2 inches down, it's wasting of their time, not doing anything. You'll get a lot more results by lowering the weight and doing it. I'm talking about if you want to get big and get massive, that's actually going to help you more, because you're going to recruit more muscle fibers and you're going to rip them. Because if I'm trying to work my biceps, put my arms up so you can see, if I'm trying to work my bicep right here, right, and I'm doing curls, the only time my bicep is working is when I curl my arm, right? So if I'm doing any of this, or if I'm swinging, or I'll straighten my arm so you can see. Look, if I'm doing any of this, notice how the whole time I'm swinging, my arm hasn't curled. My arm only curls when I actually curl my arm. If you're swinging, you're not actually working the muscle that you're targeting. So that's why it's pointless to try to go heavy. You can get 1 billion pounds up in the air somehow, however you do it. If you're not using the muscle you're trying to work, you're not going to do anything. Same with your squats. If you're not going all the way down, you're not actually recruiting those muscles. So you want to isolate the muscle. You want to really focus on the muscle. That way you can tear it. It's also really, you can't control the weight when you go heavier. And the negative part, the eccentric part of the workout, is what really helps with growth. It's called hypertrophy, when you're actually training for size as opposed to strength. And that's all that means basically, is tearing the muscles and getting it to grow bigger. And that happens if you focus and isolate the muscle and have a controlled movement. So you want to rep with slow reps, and you want to control it the whole way up and the whole way down. It's also time under tension. So the longer you're holding it up and releasing the weight and bringing it back down, the more time your muscle is spent working. I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment box below. I'll try to answer anything I can, but just to make it simple for those who maybe the science went over the head, or they just need it straight to the point. If you want to get stronger, lift heavier weights, shorter rep ranges, neurological. If you want to get bigger, medium to higher rep ranges, more physiological. Rip the muscle. Jason, signing out.